Now, in a second, I'm going to be talking to Shane O'Boyle from the Environmental Protection Agency about water quality. Big story today. Also a story on the front page of the Munster Express about this matter. Some of your texts and comments coming in. I wish Waterford people would shop locally so our shops would be able to handle a rates increase instead of going to Cork and Dublin. That's in from Paul. On our discussion about greyhounds. Hi, Damien. My name's Dawn. My family have been involved in the breeding of rearing and training and offering a couch for many a greyhound over the years. 99% of everyone involved in greyhounds love them as much as their own children, and there's often been a time these animals are fed and cared for before themselves. Waterford Greyhound Stadium have run a fantastic establishment for many years now, and it's time that the Irish Greyhound Board took more accountability. The board need more people like Mark Phillips involved to see what is happening. Other people criticising greyhound racing and the greyhound industry, in particular racing, saying that some are only paying minimal lip service to what is going on and asking about the 12,000 employees. Are they part-time or full-time? We'll come back to that in a minute. Shane, good morning.
Good morning.
Thanks very much for joining us this morning, Shane. Are you down in Johnstown Castle?
No, I'm based in our Dublin office. Based
in the Dublin office. You're with the Environmental Protection Agency. You are tasked with making sure the country remains clean and green, I suppose. The front page of the Irish Times today and in other papers, water quality in the state's rivers and lakes is getting worse, with just 20 rivers having pristine conditions this year. How does that tally with ongoing reports that you'd have regarding water quality and saying that a certain percentage of our rivers and lakes meet standard, I suppose, testing?
So the report would be, we would do the reports under the as required by the EU Water Framework Directive. So that sets out the standards and objectives that need to be met. So under the directive, we're required to have our waters in either good or better condition. So based on this assessment, what the assessment finds for surface waters, which is our rivers and lakes and estuaries, the assessment finds that just over half, or about 53% of our surface waters are in good condition. So that means that the nearly 47% are less than good condition. And while we are seeing some improvements in some areas, so it's not all negative news. But unfortunately, we're seeing more declines than improvements, and those declines are actually most pronounced in our rivers, which have declined by 5.5% since the last assessment in 2015.
Okay, in 2015. So that's 4 years ago. Because if you can put it in layperson's terms, Shane, I know it's a difficult thing to do sometimes when we're talking about scientific reports. When you describe something as being in good quality and then you describe something we'd say is in moderate or poor ecological status, that doesn't make it unsafe, does it?
No, well, I suppose the emphasis of our assessments are sort of based on the ecological sort of quality of a river or a lake. So we look at the animals and plants and how healthy they are and how diverse they are. So a healthy system will have a lot of different species of plants and animals, and there'll be sufficient levels of dissolved oxygen, and everything is quite healthy. It's functioning quite well. There's a good food web there, food chain. So there's river insects that are feeding small fish that are being eaten by bigger fish, and the fishermen can come along and catch those fish. But what happens when you see more pollution is, as more pollution gets into the water, then you start to see things change, and you get different types of plants and animals that grow particularly well when there's nutrient enrichment, when there's too many nutrients in the water, and then eventually they overgrow and they actually die back and start to sort of break down, and that causes a problem with oxygen levels. And then when you get into a really bad situation, you end up with things like fish kills. That's sort of the ultimate sign that your ecosystem has broken down. And so that's sort of what it looks like across the scale of what we look at.
Okay, yeah, I understand that. And there can be different tipping points we talk in terms of surveys and testing that's done in rivers and different ecological systems. And once a tipping point is reached, there may be a point of no return. In something like this, though, is it a case that the water quality is leading to potentially these diminution of fish stocks and things like that? Or can there be other factors that are taken into account that it may not just be the water quality?
Well, no, there can be other factors. I mean, water quality is an important factor. I mean, if you don't have, a certain level of water quality, then, it won't be able to support your fish and your other aquatic wildlife. So it's an important factor. I mean, in 2018, we saw an increase in the number of fish kills. They had fallen quite considerably, and I think we'd reached a low in 2017 of only 14 fish kills nationally. But that increased to 40 last year. Now, the picture is slightly complicated because last year, as most people remember, we had a very dry summer. So, the fish may have been put under stress by other factors like warmer temperatures in the water or less water to actually, swim in and live in.
Yes.
And that can be that can be the additional factors that can cause problems. So that's again linked to the bigger picture of climate change and the effect that can have.
And that was the reason I asked that question. There can be other factors that can contribute to it. Another factor which has contributed to water pollution in many cases over the years are farmers, and farmers causing some damage to the environment with pollution. And yet, farmers will say, a lot of them, that they really are trying hard not to allow runoff, not to allow different chemicals and stuff into the rivers. What's your assessment in terms of the farm organisations and farming and farmers regarding this report? Are farmers causing some of the pollution?
Well, I suppose in parallel to this report, we also have an earlier assessment which looks at the human activities that are causing problems in our waters. So if we break that down, then the main source, the main problem is nutrient enrichment or nutrient pollution, which is either nitrogen or phosphorus get into our waters. And one of the main sources of those pollutants would be agriculture. But there are other sources as well. The wastewater treatment plants not working properly. You can also get nutrients from new forest plantations. And then there's also, in addition to nutrients, there's also physical modifications that we're making to our waterways and our rivers for a variety of reasons, be it, land drainage or flood protection. So they are just going back to your question, they are one of the main pressures, but there's a whole host of environmental legislation that farmers must comply with. One of the main ones would be the Good Agricultural Regulations.
Yeah.
So there are farm inspections undertaken by local authorities.
But it's very difficult, Shane, isn't it? Sorry, it's very difficult for local authorities to do that. Like, farmers spread a lot of slurry, and they do it certain times of the year, and the local authorities can't be out checking every farmer to make sure that the runoff isn't going into the rivers. It is difficult, isn't it? Yeah.
It's a difficult. It's what we call. It's a good name for it. It's diffuse pollution. It's because it's happening in so many different places. But we do have a plan. There is a national plan for water quality. It's the National River Basin Management Plan, and that was launched by the government last year. And as part of that plan, it recognised, I suppose, the point that you're making in terms of, how do you actually tackle this very difficult problem? So, as part of that plan, they've established an advisory service for farmers. There are now 30 advisors that are advising farmers on water quality issues and explaining to them some of the problems that may be created by their activities. So that's one key thing is making sure that everybody understands how their activities can actually cause water pollution.
And I presume in the big power plants and different things like that, you would have very strict monitoring systems. For example, you're in charge of monitoring the Great Island Power Station down there. What causes foam on the river estuaries and stuff like that? So people have texted in the last week especially. There's been different, obviously, water, a lot of rain and different sort of tidal things. Like the Waterford estuary at the minute, some people are saying that there's some mussels that are dead that wouldn't have been dead in the past. Now, there's no insinuation that it's been caused by any outflow from the Waterford Great Island, the Wexford Great Island Power Station, but you'd be in charge of that, wouldn't you?
Well, we would license the plant. I can't really specifically talk in relation to that. It's not my area.
Okay, that's okay. And in terms of
in general,
yeah, go on.
Yeah, but in general, people do sometimes get alarmed if they see foam on the water or see foam along the beach. It's difficult, obviously, just to say in this specific case, but it typically it's the result of some natural phenomena. It typically happens after a plankton bloom in the water. When those plankton cells break up, they tend to float to the surface, the little bits and particles of algal bloom, and that tends to act like a surfactant. It attracts different bubbles, and that's where you get the accumulation of foam. So in many cases, it's quite natural. You can do a test if you collect the foam, and if you shake it, and if the foam disappears, it's typically a natural source. But if the foam doesn't disappear, that would indicate it's not natural.
Okay, that's some very good advice. Shane O'Boyle, thanks very much for joining us this morning.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much there, Shane, from the Environmental Protection Agency. And Owen Dalton has a story in the Munster Express this week saying that Julie Power is asking questions of the EPA regarding matters concerning Waterford Estuary, and we'll keep an eye out for that. People have been putting up stuff on different social media organisations just saying about this foam. So you heard Shane's explanation from the Environmental Protection Agency, and if anybody has any more concerns, they should contact the EPA about it, and they could and should be able to answer their questions. Now we have a winner. We're going to phone somebody in a few minutes for the Mulligan's Christmas Pharmacy competition. We also are going to be talking to Christopher Pay from jobs.ie survey regarding that 40% of people in Dublin want to move or would be willing to move to Waterford, and we'll have Emer in studio who has moved to Waterford recently to give us her views about what's good or bad in the city and county. Now, welcome back. We're going to be talking to Helen, I think. Helen, are you there?
Morning, Damien.
How are you getting on?
I'm getting on good, thanks.
Great. Thanks very much for joining us. Helen Power, where are you living, Helen?
Ballyduff in Kilmeaden.
Lovely, lovely, lovely. It's raining there at the minute, is it?
Well, I'm in work at present, so it is raining here in town, yes.
Go on, give work a little plug. Where are you working?
Okay, it's McLeary's Cafe on the Manor.
Lovely, yeah, I know it well. It's nice there. How are they all there?
We're all keeping good. Want to say hello to Ray and Johnny in the kitchen.
Ray and Johnny doing the business, are they?
That's it.
Well, listen, hello to them all there and everybody in McLeary's. Congratulations, you are our winner this morning. So we have this is our fourth one, so we've had numbers 7, 8 and 9 picked out, so you have to pick out any other number between 1 and 12 if that's okay.
4.
Number 4, okay. And we have our cards up on the computer here, so I'll click on 4. Okay, there's our little Christmas cracker, and up behind it comes, okay, Mark Jacobs' Daisy Dream Twinkle. I think that's cream, is it? Or I don't know what is it. Huh?
Maybe a perfume, I don't know.
Maybe it is perfume. I'm sorry, I should know. So you've won. Congratulations, Mark Jacobs' Daisy Dream Twinkle. If anybody wants to text us in about what that exactly is, and that's courtesy of Mulligan's Pharmacy. So nice little present for you anyway, Helen, this morning, isn't it?
Lovely, Damien. Thanks very much.
Not at all.
Mulligan's as well.
Very good. And listen, hello to everybody there, and thanks very much for getting in touch with us, okay?
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
See you, Helen. Happy Christmas to you and yours and everybody in McLeary's there as well. And that is courtesy of our Mulligan's Pharmacy Cracker competition. So we'll have more about that in tomorrow, another competition tomorrow. Now, in a minute, I am going to be talking to Christopher. Firstly, I got a text in there from Paul. Paul has alerted me to a notice. It's on page 48 of the Munster Express. Waterford City and County Council application relates to the development of the Waterford North Quays Strategic Development Zone and is subject to the Waterford North Quays Planning Scheme 2018. Falcon Real Estate Development intend to apply for permission for the development of lands at the site known as the Waterford North Quays Dock Road. And there's a lot more there besides. Page 48 of the Munster Express. I don't know if it's in the News and Star. I haven't checked it yet. That looks like planning permission is going to be put in, full planning permission for the development of the North Quays. When you see it in print and you see it in that stark a way, it means that looks like it's going to happen, folks. It does. Looks like it's going to happen. Let's see what develops over the next few days regarding that. Now, Christopher, good morning.
Good morning.
Thanks very much for joining us.
Yeah, very happy to.
Tell me a little bit about yourself, please.
I'm the general manager here in jobs.ie, so I've been in the recruitment industry for a long time now, 12 years, since I was a graduate. So, I'm kind of I'm across both job seekers and clients, so I'm kind of in a good position to talk about the job seeking market, but also where clients are and what they're looking for.
Lovely. Are you a Dublin boy yourself?
I am.
Born and bred.
Against me, yeah.
I'm from Wicklow originally. I moved to Waterford a few years ago. Would you ever consider moving? Do you buy or are you renting in Dublin?
I am a homeowner, and I was very lucky, to be honest. It was kind of I happened to buy during the crash, so I'm probably one of the few lucky people in Dublin who maybe were able to stay in the place where I grew up. But my sister, she wasn't as lucky, or maybe she was luckier, and she's living in Wicklow. She's living in Wicklow,
okay, and commuting. Yeah. We've got Emer McKeown in studio. Good morning, Emer.
Morning.
Emer's going to be talking to us in a second. Emer's moved to Waterford recently. The jobs.ie survey, there's a lot of data there. Basically, it reveals that 57% would like of a lifestyle change. Give me the headline figures from this jobs.ie survey, please, Christopher.
Yeah, I suppose the main headline figure is that 73% of Irish workers have already considered relocating to a different county in pursuit of kind of career opportunities or a better lifestyle. And I think that's what that kind of shows is that job seekers are now placing an emphasis on work-life balance as opposed to I want to work for a specific company in a specific place.
Do you think they'd actually do it? Like, it's grand to be surveyed and said, I wouldn't mind living. The problem is, though, Christopher, and you know this from a lot of people, they won't move.
Yeah, I think it depends on the industry, and it depends on what's available as well. Like, in reality, we've most of the working population at the moment are living and working in Dublin, but they're not all born and bred here. My own partner's from Cork. She lives in Dublin, and eventually, that I suppose urbanisation of every role within every position that's available is not going to continue. And we are already seeing companies starting to look outside of Dublin. It's too expensive to pay people salaries. You're bringing companies in, you're bringing people in and trying to compete with major tech firms. In Dublin, you're trying to compete with increasing rents. So it might be a case that if we think back to 10 or 12 years ago, what happened was people commuted to Dublin. I just don't think people are willing to do that anymore. And 12 years ago, maybe, before the crash happened, they were kind of happy to do it. I think that's changed. I think people will if they move somewhere, will want to work within a certain distance or time of travel.
Christopher, thanks for joining us this morning. Mind yourself.
No worries. Thanks a million.
Thanks very much. Christopher Pay there, jobs.ie survey employee. Emer McKeown, good morning.
Good morning, Damien. How are you?
Good, thank you. Good. Thanks for joining us. You're working with our news team, and we just said, well, listen, there's a young person now who's just moved to Waterford. Where did you come from?
I came from Athlone, but I'm actually from Kildare, so I was living in Athlone for about 3 years. And
you came to Waterford for the job?
That's right, yeah. As you know, it's a small industry and jobs rarely come up in radio, full-time jobs. So I was quite unhappy in my job in Athlone, and there were a few, I was looking, in the last few months of my time there, and jobs were coming up in Tullamore and all these local stations, say Ennis and Tipperary, but I didn't want to move to a small town. I wanted to move to a city. So. And
had you known anything about Waterford before you moved down? Had you ever been here before?
Yeah, a few times. One of my best friends from college is from here, and I'd been to Dunmore East. And
what's your best friend? One of your best friends' name?
Her name is Cynthia by Falky. So not a Waterford name, but she is born and bred.
You've been down a few times, so you got accommodation. Was it difficult getting accommodation?
It was actually. Yeah, I moved in September, and it was just a really bad time with students. So
you're renting an apartment or a room?
Renting an apartment, yeah. Okay. Sharing with one other, yeah.
And what's your perception of Waterford?
I think it's beautiful. It's such a stunning city, and obviously the coastline. It's lovely to be near the sea, coming from the Midlands. Plenty of lakes, but no sea.
There's room for improvement with every city and county. Like, what would you like to see more of in Waterford?
I'd like to see more people in the city. I think I was quite taken aback when I went into the city to shop and go out at night, and I just found that there's very few people around.
Like, obviously, at this time of the year, there will be a lot out and it'll get jammed or whatever. But on a normal Friday or Saturday night, or during the day, if you're on a day off, you're going to do a bit of shopping, just not seeing the footfall.
No, it's very odd for a city. Now, I feel like it kind of has a big town feel, but still, even in Athlone, the streets are bustling with people shopping.
And that's a perfect example of what the businesses have been saying, and people come in and representatives talk about that, about the fact of not enough people in the city centre. And there's been lots of efforts to try and make the city centre more attractive and businesses. What about the shopping experience? Like, you're a young woman in your 20s. What about the shopping experience of Waterford? Is there much on offer there?
Well, Damien, I'm actually in my 30s, but yeah, I'll take that. But no, the shopping is terrible. There's
just not the range of shops available.
No, lacking, very big high street names.
And I know City Square expanded recently to try and get a couple of big units, so they put in stuff. We've just revealed there that the planning permission application is on the paper this week for the North Quays. So hopefully there will be developments. Do you see Waterford, like, if you were to say to somebody in Dublin or in Kildare or Athlone, listen, this is a place that is going to go places?
Oh, I mean, I would, forget about the shopping. I mean, I have a car, I can travel. I'm on a bit of a shopping ban now myself anyway. So I think it's just, there's such a really nice vibe down here. I think people are far more laid back. I lived in Dublin, went to college there and lived there for a few years afterwards. Haven't lived there now in a decade, but...
Would you go back to Dublin?
Yeah, if I could afford to live there, maybe. But I just find people here are so laid back. It's a different way of life. People, I mean, even in the office here, people are constantly smiling. And I mean, I won't put down my last workplace, but people weren't smiling in my last workplace. And everyone's been so friendly. I mean, my car broke down. I had a Garda escort into the city a few weeks ago. I mean, I don't think a guard would do that elsewhere. So I'm constantly being surprised by how nice people are to me, even in shops and on the street.
Can you remember the guards' names?
I don't, but they were actually from outside. They were Thomastown, they were Kilkenny, yeah, but they were doing a bit of road traffic duty, I think, for Waterford, yeah. Well,
listen, continued success. Best of luck with the work. Hope it goes well for you. And
thanks, Damien.
You're doing a great job. Pleasure to have you on the team, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Thank you very much.
Emer, thank you very much. Let us know your texts. Let us know your views, please, if you want to get in touch with us. Waterford, shopping, Dungarvan, West Waterford. Somebody's texted there about Youghal, we were talking about the Greyhound track. Damien, your programme is doing this morning is promoting, all your programme is doing is promoting Waterford Greyhounds. What about Youghal being closed? They're closing Youghal. It made a profit last year of 34,000. Waterford only broke clear, says this person. In other words, this person is saying that Youghal Greyhound track should be staying open. The prize we gave away a few minutes ago regarding the Mulligan's Pharmacy, a texter, it's perfume, Damien. Any more going? I would love one. Damien, you want to keep shopping local. I went to the town on Friday evening and there's some shops closed down. Everybody should try and shop local as much as possible, and guaranteed to keep jobs and money in and around the Waterford city centre and Dungarvan areas. And I said thanks very much to Paul for texting me in about the Munster Express planning application regarding the North Quays. Now, thanks for all your texts and your comments. Louise is in studio. Going to be talking to Louise O'Brien in a second. Damien says, Emer sounds lovely. It's great that she's come to Waterford. Want to wish everybody in WLR News and Sports a very, very happy Christmas. Thank you very much from Thomas on that. Other people texting in, what about the horrible foam that's on the river? Sure, needs to be checked out. Also, is any of this foam harmful to mussels and oysters? As you heard from the EPA person, if you're having issues, give the EPA a ring, give the council a ring, get them to check out the water quality and see what they have to say. A texter in for somebody is talking about rubbish in the Avondale area. Quite a lot of rubbish being dumped by morons, says this person. Now, Christmas Stars concert at St John's Church. Magical evening. It's on this evening. It's all in aid of the WR Christmas appeal for the local St Vincent de Paul. It's €8 a ticket. So that is on in the Christmas Stars concert, involving choirs from De La Salle, Presentation, Ursuline, St John of God's, Newtown. And also the Waterford Writers' Christmas Concert, local writers, musicians, singers in St Patrick's Gateway Centre on tonight as well. Tickets can be got at the door. Louise, how are you getting on?
Great, Damien. How are you?
You going to any concerts this year?
No.
Nothing planned?
Nothing planned as yet.
You have a little 10-year-old boy.
Oh, I do. God, yeah. He's looking forward to Christmas now, as we all are.
So you're with MABS, the money and budgeting advice. What would you be advising a little 10-year-old in terms of getting a turtle for Christmas and stuff like that? They're smelly little things.
They are, and animals aren't for Christmas, they're for life. So that's the main thing.
Yeah, my young lad wanted a turtle as well for some reason. I don't know why boys want turtles. It's a strange sort of a thing, you know.
It is a boy thing.
He didn't get him one anyway. Listen, we're not going to talk about heavy-duty financing stuff at the minute because we wanted people to talk about Christmas and enjoying Christmas responsibly. Little bit of advice from MABS about enjoying Christmas responsibly. What do you think?
So I suppose, Damien, a lot of people, really enjoy Christmas. It's a time to be with your family and your friends and to enjoy yourself and let go. But at the same time, I suppose you do have to be mindful that January is also around the corner. So, there's little tips that we can give on people to save while still enjoying yourself. So, for instance, most of us now have, you could say, the supermarket cards, the scan cards. But there's an awful lot of people who get their vouchers from the supermarkets that don't use them. So we'd say that's a simple little thing that you can use. Just use your vouchers. There's money off goods that you need to buy, so use them. Another thing is shopping lists. You're going to do your Christmas shopping. Make a list of what you need. Remember, again, we could all enjoy the festivities and the food and whatever else we have with Christmas, but the special offers that are there, you may not always need them. Like, for instance, in a lot of the ones we're seeing at the minute now is 3 boxes of sweets for €10. It's a great offer. But do we really need 3 boxes of sweets? So it could be that you might have family members buy the 3 boxes, share them out, save yourself some money. So you're still availing of your special offer. Also be mindful that, the shops are open again on Stephen's Day. Most of the big supermarkets are open. We don't have to go off and buy a mountain of food. There's I read in the paper there recently that up to 50% of food is actually thrown out at Christmas time.
I was just going to bring that up,
Yeah, because people, we tend to, I think it's going back to our own childhood, and the shops were probably closed for a week then, so you were buying everything in, and you did, and you weren't going to even get to a corner shop for a carton of milk. So it was important. But I suppose, now they're open on Stephen's Day, there's no need to do all that hoarding anymore.
There's also, if you're going into Winterval, you're going to different things, you don't have to spend a load of money. Like, there's some things that are free.
Yeah, we're very lucky here in Waterford. Obviously, we all think, well, I certainly do, that we have a beautiful city. We're very lucky we have Winterval. So we should be availing of, there's lots of free things to do in Winterval. You have the light show, you have storytelling in the book centre, you have the Fosha stations around, you have the Polish Christmas, and now this year I think the new addition is the outdoor cinema and the Apple Market. And my own personal favourite is the choir in the cathedral on Saturday. So there's loads for all the family to do. It's not just children, and parents, but for adults to do as well. So and we should be embracing that and enjoying it.
Tell us about presents. Tell us about making sure you don't have to spend too much on presents. Like, obviously, there's a pressure on people to buy a lot of stuff, and little 10-year-old boys will be asking for this, that and the other from Santa and things like that. So there is pressure on people.
Yeah. So I suppose the pressure is sometimes when you're feeling pressure about it, especially buying other family members' presents, sometimes they can be feeling that pressure too. So maybe just have a chat and say, you might do a Chris Kindle kind of a thing, so that you put all the names in a hat and each one buy a present each, or you might decide to put a limit on the cost of each present, and that could help an awful lot of people within a family, and also, I was talking to a teacher friend not so while ago, and what she told me is that children, when they go back to school in the new year, more often than not, they actually don't even talk about what they get at Christmas, because I think children have so much now anyway. They talk about what they did over Christmas, that kind of a thing, and what they've done with their families. So you don't have to go out and spend an absolute fortune.
Tell us a little bit about borrowing and about people going to money lenders and people thinking, oh God, I have to get money and I don't have the money to get it, and that pressure that's on people. Certainly, money lenders is not the way to go.
That's very true. remember, money lenders can legally charge 187.5% interest on their loans. That is a massive amount of money. Like, we understand, and whilst we wouldn't recommend borrowing for Christmas, because, we would be saying now for Christmas 2020 you should nearly start to budget now. But sometimes people find themselves and they need to borrow, so we'd be practical about it as well. But look at places, like our local credit union. They probably have an interest rate of 10% compared to that 187.5, so you're going to make yourself a good savings there too.
Isn't it scandalous that the government still allows that to happen?
It certainly is. It certainly is.
Scandalous. And to think that it's still legal to charge 187% interest on some money borrowed. Yes, and they do charge it, Damien. I mean, there is some... Now, money lending would start from 23% up. Right, so anybody who's charging in excess of 23% would be looked at as being a money lender. So they're not always the ones who we think they are. There's plenty of ones online that charge you interest rates of that percentage as well. So just go
be
to
mindful.
The credit union. Pop into yourselves.
Pop into yourselves, yeah, exactly. And we can give you some advice about what the best. You may not need to borrow at all. It might be just a case of fixing a few figures or something like that. So go to MABS, your local MABS office.
And again, mabs.ie.
www.mabs.ie, that's us, yeah.
Louise, it's been a pleasure talking to you over the last 6 months.
Thank you, Damien. And we just, in MABS, would like to wish everybody a very happy and healthy Christmas and New Year.
And we would like to wish everybody in MABS and anybody that has used the MABS services, and if you haven't and you find yourself in a bit of trouble, even if it's the first week in January, to give you a shout and check it out.
And you'll find us there on mabs.ie.
Yeah, because it's the thing we've done every fortnight in conjunction with yourselves in terms of promoting MABS and the services there, because there's still a lot of people out there that need the services. And as I said last week, I had a chap into me who said MABS saved his life, which is great. So to everybody involved, thank you very much and continue good work.
Thank you, Damien.
Now, a lot of people still texting in. Good morning, Damien. Without my moneylender, my children wouldn't have Christmas. I get an €800 loan. I pay back €1,000 over 6 months. It's sad to say it, but that's my Christmas. So €200 interest over 6 months. Damien, you think 187% is bad. Look at some of the ads on cable TV channels in Britain. One payday loan company is charging more than €4,000 APR. Damien, you can't buy them Christmas presents. If you can't buy them Christmas presents, their faces would be ruined and that everybody would be sad. Damien, regarding the county board finances, 57 extra thousand spent on the senior footballers this year. I don't think anybody can knock the county board for supporting football anymore. That is in from Stephen. Stephen, we're going to be talking to Paddy Joe Ryan on Thursday, hopefully. We're going to do an extensive interview about the end of his 5-year tenure, and also where next for Waterford GAA. So that is going to be leading our programme on Thursday morning. That's the plan. Kieran Foley, how's it going?
Very good, Damien. Thank you.
Thanks very much for joining us.
Thank you.
Appreciate
good to be here.
No, it's great to have you in. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Where are you from?
Well, I'm Faha Kilmac-Thomas. As you know, I took part in your outside broadcast you did at the Coach House here back in March. And yeah, very proud of where I come from, and great to see Kilmac and the surrounding areas coming on and doing so well since the opening of the Waterford Greenway, and I suppose getting national and international recognition now.
People in Faha, everybody would know each other there, wouldn't they?
Yeah, great community spirit, Damien, and we all get along. Everybody pulls together. We have a great parish priest there as well, and Father Jerry Condon. Great to bring everybody together. So, lovely place to have grown up in, a lovely place to live.
You got a job then with the Munster Express?
Yeah, in with the Munster Express. Well, I actually did a work placement there when I was in college. I first went in 2009 to get a few weeks' work experience, then did a work placement for 6 months the following year. Everybody welcomed me with open arms. I felt like I gained another family. Kept my foot in the door, I suppose. Lucky enough to have got a job when I finished college. That was over 7 years ago, and still there now.
So you started there, you were there 10 years ago. That's hard to believe that your original work experience.
Yeah, I was there when I was 19. Yeah, went in first across the door, and Johnny O'Connor there, and father figure who was absolutely brilliant to work with. And yeah, as I said, great place to work, great people and great friends.
You just produced this marvellous 2019 Christmas supplement. We gave the News and Star a bit of publicity the other week as well when they had their one, and your one is part of the paper this week. How much work goes into producing this marvellous Christmas supplement? Because it really is an excellent production. Well done.
Thanks, Damien. There's a great amount of work goes into it every year, and I suppose I've been delighted to have been given the honour of working on it since I actually first went in there, and it's something that I particularly enjoy doing every year. And it's a chance as well for myself to learn more about Waterford, even though when you're from Waterford and you've grown up here and you work here, you think that you know Waterford City and County, but I'm amazed every year when we get the different stories from our contributors, all of the different things about the local area that you wouldn't have necessarily known about. And I think for anybody reading the supplement, it's always a pleasant surprise to see different stories, or even to read a different angle or a different take on something that we might all be familiar with. And we try to every year incorporate, I suppose, that mix of light and shade, maybe, more kind of serious stories, but also light-hearted elements as well. And I hope there's something really for everybody in it this year as well.
Anything in particular that stands out for you this year?
Yeah, well, Matt Keane, of course, who is also of this parish, has contributed some lovely pieces on the show band scene in Waterford. And that's kind of been a recurring theme every year with the supplement. And it probably goes to show the impact which the show bands had on the city and the level of pride which people still continue to take in the show band. So Matt, looking at the Royal Show Band in great detail, and of course Brendan Boyer and all his success. John O'Connor then has a lovely piece on the SS Port Lauriga, which he also gives a mention to yourself in terms of coverage that you gave that a number of years ago.
And that
would have been a very familiar sight to many people in Waterford for many years. I was delighted myself then to do a piece locally with the Kilmacthomas Women's Group, who were working on a very interesting project for the past few months to actually commemorate 100 years since the Union Workhouse in Kilmac closed its doors. And I mentioned to you about the fact that, the Greenway in Kilmac and every place has come on now so much. That whole area is really a focal point now for, tourists beginning or ending their Greenway trip, and even for locals to socialise. But, we have to remember as well that area has a very bleak past, and that building, the Union Workhouse, for many people, the sense of dread that would have conjured up. The women in Kilmacthomas Women's Group really went out of their way to try to commemorate that and to work on a project that would look to the future but also remember the past of the area. So they've created this beautiful mosaic which is on display now on the grounds of the Union Workhouse. They worked with Sean and Miranda Corcoran at the Art Hand in Balmahan for that project. So at least now when people come to the area that mightn't know Kilmacthomas or know of the history associated with the Union building, there is that representation there to detail the past of the building and also to remember all the local people who actually died there.
You've a lot of photographs, there's some competitions and prizes as well, like that. I know the sales team work hard on it as well. Special mention to all in the sales team there.
Yeah,
and a lot of competition winners. There's still a good future for print if it's done right.
There is, absolutely, and I think the Christmas supplement is brilliant to actually highlight that. And every year we view it as a gift to our readers in terms of we're almost giving them something back. And there's always interest every year. It's amazing to see, even in the weeks after it comes out, people contacting about such a thing that was in. Maybe they've seen an old photograph or a relative or a colleague, a friend, and we try to select, photographs that might generate particular talking points. There's lovely photographs of the business community in Waterford from down through the years, of the sporting scenes, of new arrivals at Airmount from down through the years. And I really feel that definitely there is a future in print, and I would say more so even locally than nationally, because I feel people are kind of now recognising the importance of that community element and even hyper local, not just being, say, Waterford as a whole, but going down to within the different communities within that area. So again, we've selected stories not just from one specific area, but stories from throughout our catchment area. So obviously you have the city, but you also have Kilmacthomas, Kilmeaden, Tramore, South Kilkenny. So appealing to all the audiences.
What's the future of the Munster Express?
The future of the Munster Express is bright, I would hope. As I said, I've been there now over 10 years and I feel we put out a great product every week. We have a great team working there. You mentioned our sales team. Everybody pulls together. We're all one big happy family. We're all proud of where we work.
And what about ownership and stuff like that? Obviously, Kieran and the Welsh family have owned it for many years. Is that to continue, or can you reveal anything here this morning?
I can't reveal anything too specific here this morning, Damien. I don't have any breaking news. If I'm to reveal anything, hopefully you'll read about it first in the Munster Express. I'm not giving you the exclusive on it.
And when are we expected to read something?
Well, we'll look to the new year. You never know what the new year might hold.
Okay, so there will be news, will there?
We'll see. Yeah, we won't rule it out, but yeah.
So has a deal been done?
I'm not privy to the exact information, but if a deal has been done, I would say that it is a vote of confidence in the Munster Express, and it's a vote of confidence also in Waterford, because the Munster Express is an intrinsic part of Waterford, and I feel everybody in the community would like to see it to continue to thrive. It's been there with people for the good times, for the baptisms, the marriages, the fantastic community charity events that have taken place. It's served the community for almost 160 years, and hopefully it'll serve the community for many more years to come.
So we'll just wait for the headlines.
Yeah, we'll wait and see.
Wait and see. Listen, thanks very much for joining us this morning, and the very best of luck to everybody in the Munster. I know a lot of the lads there personally over the years, having represented them with the NUJ, but also just on a professional basis. And as you say, it's a unique newspaper. It's been covered by different programmes in the past, and every paper has its own history and traditions. In the News and Star, the Dungarvan Leader and the Observer as well. And the Munster, obviously, because of Joe's ownership and his stewardship over the years, and then Kieran over the years, and then you've got lads like Johnny there and Dermot there for years, and yourself there now. So it's lovely to feel part of that history, isn't it?
It is, absolutely. And as I mentioned, that family element, and that is something the Walsh family, they have taken great pride in their products down through the years, and pride in where they come from and serving the people of Waterford. But I suppose in recent years, the model of newspapers has probably drifted away from the traditional ownership model of a family, in terms of bigger companies coming into the scene. But like any industry, the newspaper industry has to adapt and move with the times, and change isn't always necessarily bad. I feel change should be embraced. Even with social media, there were lots of warnings that was going to signal the end of the print product, but most media outlets have now embraced social media. It doesn't mean it has to replace your core product, but if you use it effectively, it can really be a complementary tool to your existing product.
Kieran Foley, thank you very much.
Thank you, Damien.
And continued success. And we'll talk to you soon. And happy Christmas to you and yours and everybody in Faha as well.
Thanks, Damien.
Thanks very much. A couple of texts just before we hit our outro. Johnny has been on to us from People Before Profit, saying the business community have a representative of representative groups pushing their line, and there should be more people representing council tenants and others such like. Other people texting about the greyhound industry. Damien, greyhound racing is awful, and something has to be done. And this idea of going to the dogs and paying for your greyhound fund, that's something that I'd like to know more about, says this texter. Other people texting in and saying that the lady we had on earlier about the cancer thing was a lovely story. Margaret ran to warn people that her daughter's phone has been hacked. She doesn't know what to do. It's the second time it's happened. The hackers have set up a page looking for money. Her daughter has stage 4 cancer. She's contacted the Gardaí and the phone provider, but they have to try and sort it out themselves. So be very, very careful about that if you are online or if you have one of those phones that can potentially be hacked. Now, thanks everybody for your texts and your comments and your contributions to the programme. Thank you very much, Julie, for producing. The great Jeff Harris is up next. Thanks, Kieran Foley, for bringing in the chocolates.
Thanks, Amy.
I might have a little chocolate there now. What's your favourite milk tray? Let us know. We'll talk to you again tomorrow. Stay safe and stay dry.